Thanks for watching Afternoon Live. He is a New York Times best-selling author whose latest legal thriller to feature Robin Lockwood comes out today. We welcome back to Afternoon Live author of the newly released Betrayal, Phillip Margolin. Great to see you.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for stopping by for your 27th book.
Yep.
That's pretty incredible.
Well, there's a secret. You have to be very old.
Oh. That's how
So
you
if
get
you
to
want-
27.
Yeah.
You're very prolific, though. Do you have kind of a schedule of a book a year?
Well, I don't have a schedule, but I
Yeah.
just write really fast. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like my publisher says you have to have one a year. I just love writing, and I'm able to do it pretty quickly. So it's a fun way to earn a living.
Well, that's the secret to success, doing something that you enjoy and, somebody cuts you a check for it. That's pretty nice. So 27 is publishing day. Still exciting for you now as it was for book number 1?
Yeah, because when I was growing up, I was in awe of writers, and it never even entered my head that I could be one.
Yeah.
And so anything to do with the books, I just think is like fantastic. And even though I've been doing it a long time, it's just, not something I ever expected. So I do get excited.
That's wonderful. Tell me about this part of Robin Lockwood's story. She's a pretty incredible character.
Yeah, she's unusual. She worked her way through law school and paid her tuition by fighting in Las Vegas on pay-per-view mixed martial arts.
Pretty awesome.
Events. And when the book starts, it starts 10 years before the main events. And she has a chance to fight the number 2 contender, winner to fight for the world championship. And she just gets really beat up and so decides that she's going to stop fighting and concentrate on her law studies. Well, 10 years later, Mandy Kerrigan, the woman who ended her fighting career, has been charged with capital murder, and the police are saying that she killed the entire Finch family.
Quadruple murder.
And what's fun about the book, and this is what gave me the idea, is there's 4 Finches, and they're all horrible people.
Okay.
Margaret, the wife, is a lawyer for the Russian mob. Her husband, Nathan, has just been fired for embezzling money that he's trying to steal so he can pay off a very vicious bookie. In order to pay the money now, he's manufacturing drugs and having his teenage or 21-year-old son sell it. So the son's a drug dealer.
Sure.
And even the 14-year-old 8th grader has some really, really bad stuff in her background. So the idea for the book was not only is the reader going to try to figure out who done it,
Right.
but to figure it out, you have to figure out who was the intended victim out of the 4 people.
And who do you sympathize with when all the characters are very complicated and have a lot of stories to tell?
Yeah, you sympathize with Robin because she's got
Sure.
to figure out this mess and figure out who done it. And Mandy Kerrigan she's at the tail end of her career. Everything's going downhill for her, so she's a pretty sympathetic character also.
So how do you keep all of these characters and plot twists straight? Because the series there's so many twists and turns. How do you remember where everybody is heading?
I got a book Bible.
Okay, yeah.
And what I do is I have my secretary go through the book, and every time a character is mentioned, she types it in with the description that's in there. So it's absolutely essential because this is the 7th book in the series. And I try to write each one as a standalone. As a matter of fact, one of the things that makes me happiest is if I read a review either in a paper or on Amazon or someplace, they say that this is the 7th book, but you can read it as a standalone. I do that intentionally.
The first couple of pages, you're pretty much caught up and you can just jump right into the middle of this crazy story.
And even though this is a 7th book with Robin, if there's any background stuff, I try to just fill it in really quickly.
Okay. What about referencing Portland? I see lots of really cool touches you're talking about the mountains and the rivers, and people must really connect with that locally.
Well, I love Oregon. We were talking before the show went on, and I grew up on the East Coast and moved out in 1970 to Oregon. I just fell in love with it. So I love writing about it. Also, I'm lazy. If I said it in Omaha, Nebraska, I'd have to move there and do research. So it's easier to just write where I live. So.
Well, and you're already writing your next. I mean, how many more do you have scheduled right now?
Number 28 is in New York City being edited.
Okay.
It should come back fairly soon. And I'm 200 pages as of today. When I wasn't on TV, I went back and wrote. And that
today, you were writing in between Wow.
And that'll come out in 2025. So.
2025.
Yeah.
I can't even think that far ahead.
Yeah.
What's the process like when you send it off, you get the editor's notes? How much back and forth is there with your team?
Well, yeah, that's interesting because people really don't understand how an editor works. And I always describe it, if you and I were playing a game of chess, and it was the most important thing in my life to beat you. I hired a Russian grandmaster. I've been studying for 5 years to beat you, and I make a move. I spend an hour on the move. I make the move, and you're looking at the board from a different angle, and you don't know what I'm thinking about, and you say, I've got a checkmate in 3.
Right.
Now, I tried the hardest I could possibly, do, but I didn't see that, and the editor's job is to point out stuff that you think is good, but that's a problem.
Okay.
And then it's a very civilized adult conversation.
That's good.
There's no adversarial. I'm trying to write. The whole idea is to write a book that you would enjoy if you were flying from Portland to New York.
There you go.
So it's not for me. And I any help I get, I really appreciate.
You're on the same team, same goal.
Yeah.
Hey, great to meet you. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Oh, this is always a pleasure.
Again, the book is Betrayal. We'll have more information about Phil and all of his event details at katu.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.